First, we hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. Xavier Becerra, chairman of the House Democratic Caucus. We want to welcome everyone back into town. We hope that every American and every American family had an opportunity to break bread with family and loved ones and enjoy a feast that has become very important in this country because we take a moment to say thanks to so many different people, not just our family. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone who is out there and can hear this. Secondly, we want to express our thanks to the President for his words yesterday with regard to the incident or the activities in Ferguson. And quite honestly, now it's what follows Ferguson, because I think as much as we heard the 12 grand jurors speak, we know that what we do from here on going forward will speak far louder than the voices of those 12 grand jurors. And so with the President, I think many of us want to work to make sure that we grow the confidence in our criminal justice system. We give everyone the sense that our criminal justice system works for all of us or for any one of us. And that becomes very, very important because our Constitution is grounded on giving us a sense of security. And it's tough to feel secure if you don't have faith and confidence in your criminal justice system. And I hope that we recognize that there are so many people who actually work very hard every day to give us that security and do it so very well. And so it's an issue that, once again, challenges the American people to put its best foot forward, and I think we will as a people. And that's why we're so pleased with the words expressed by the President yesterday. We heard from Secretary of the Treasury Jack Lew this morning. He gave us a sense of where the President would like to see this country go. I think many of us agree that while we've seen a great deal of progress, and I just point to this chart here, which shows how the unemployment rate has dropped. If I could have a second chart that shows it's sort of consistent. As we've seen the unemployment rate drop, we've seen the number of jobs in America increase, grow pretty dramatically to the point where over the last 9 months, we've had more than 200,000 Americans go back to work each of those months. We haven't seen something like that since the 1990s. More than 6 million jobs created over the last 4.5 years. That compares again to where we lost more than 8 million jobs just with that massive downturn that we now call the Great Recession. And so quite a bit of progress. Another thing that we should note, high school graduation rates are at an all-time high. More people are insured for health care today and have health security than ever before. And so there is progress. But at the same time that we've seen corporate profits go up by about 42% in the last several years, Americans seem to be watching their paycheck provide less and less. So while more and more Americans are finding jobs, fewer and fewer are feeling economically secure. And so our task before us, and I believe that's why Secretary Lew was here, and the President is talking so much about growing this economy in the right way, is so we can focus in on what's always made America great, the engine of American growth, and that's the middle class. And we want to make sure that the middle class is prospering. But the only way you make sure the middle class is prospering is making sure that everyone believes that the economy works for them, not just for the wealthy few. And so probably the greatest thing we can do as a Congress during this lame duck session and certainly beyond is don't mess with a good thing that's getting better. The economy is improving, jobs are coming back, but at the same time, don't sucker punch the middle class. Don't sucker punch the guy who's working very hard to make ends meet, who's hoping to send his children to college. Don't sucker punch the woman who is now out working, even though she's got kids, and trying to make it possible for not just the family to have a home, but college will be in the future for the kids. Don't sucker punch the middle class. Sort of like the Hippocratic Oath for doctors, do no harm. Well, Congress should follow the oath that says don't sucker punch the middle class. With that, let me yield to the Vice Chair of the Democratic Caucus for the House, Mr. Joe Crowley, who is a little under the weather because he had some work done, but he'll let you know.
I wasn't about to let them know, but
now you need to let them know.
Some oral surgery. I think many of my colleagues are happy that I had oral surgery, quite frankly. So, but I do want to join my colleague and the chair of the caucus, Xavier Becerra, in welcoming everyone back after the Thanksgiving Day break, and to wish all of America a happy Thanksgiving belatedly. There are a lot of great things to be happy for, that we live in this wonderful country. And I think what Americans also have is to look forward to some things as well. Look forward to a Republican Congress that actually will work on its behalf, as opposed to slowing down the American economy. Just reading today, the record drop in the price of oil and gasoline, and what impact that potentially could have on our country to help drive and spur growth here in the United States. Put some money back in the pockets of the middle class, spending it during these holiday seasons to, again, reinfuse the American economy. Those are all good things. To yet have, just last year, suffering from an intentional shutdown by the Republican caucus, to this year again, the Republican caucus talking about a shutdown or partial shutdown, defunding the Department of Homeland Security partially or in whole, because of their angst against what the president has taken in terms of what is entirely within his discretion to do in terms of executive order on immigration. Again, it's childish. We need to pass a clean CR. We need to pass a clean TRIA bill to allow not just cities like New York and L.A., but Omaha, Nebraska, and others do the building that they need to do, help bring stability back to America, and I think give to the American people what we're looking for, which is assurance. No more make-believe crises. Help the American people move forward. We need to get a jobs bill done, and primarily that means we need to get an infrastructure bill done. We've seen reports in 60 Minutes recently. I think many Americans watched that program and saw just how troubling the systems of roads and bridges and tunnels in our country and what we're facing there. And we also need to extend the funding for the multi-employer pension plans, which is set to expire on January 1st as well, to protect the workers and retirees and their livelihoods. These are things that need to get done. Along with the tax extenders. We need tax extenders that are give, again, assurance to businesses in this country, but don't do it on the backs of the middle class and retirees in this country. And with that, I want to introduce Kathy Castor from Florida. Kathy, it's all yours.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kathy Castor. I represent the Tampa Bay area in the Congress. And I'd like to thank Chairman Becerra and Vice Chair Crowley for including me today. I'm very thankful to be back at work here in Washington. The American people are relying on us. They're depending on us to get the work done here at year end. And what I heard when I was home is that people are very grateful for this healthy economy. Finally, we lived through the worst economic time in a generation a few years ago. But look at America now. The deficit is down. Employment is up. More people have good-paying jobs. Gas prices are at historic lows. And you're right, Joe, that's going to be a welcome addition to the wallets here at holiday time. We talked about today the stock market is up. Secretary Lew said all across the globe, people are envious of the United States of America. This is where they want to invest. Now, is everything perfect for all people? No, but the signs are good, and we need to build on this momentum for higher wages and greater opportunities for everyone, not just the wealthy few, but ensure here at the end of the year, as Congress wraps up its business, that the middle class gets the continued help it needs, the opportunities to be successful, and make sure everyone has the opportunities to succeed. And I'll give you one example. Like many parents across the country, I, over the holidays, was helping my oldest daughter fill out college applications, and we're going to be working on this up until the beginning of the new year, just like so many parents across the country. We want to ensure the Democratic Caucus is going to fight tooth and nail to ensure that all children, no matter their background, no matter where they come from, they have the opportunity for a higher education. These are the type of opportunities we're talking about. Here in Washington, you'll hear all of the political speak over tax extenders, the CR, the continuing resolution, and budgets. But what that means every day to parents and families across this country is that their kids can graduate from high school and then have the opportunity for a higher education. Because what we know is that if a student gets that college degree, they have greater opportunity for higher wages and success in life. So here at the year end, what the Democratic Caucus is going to do, the Democrats in the Congress, we're going to fight to ensure that it's not just the business tax breaks that are extended for the wealthy and for corporations. We're going to fight to ensure that families, the middle-class families, have those same tax benefits and tax credits, whether it's the opportunity tax credit that provides $2,500 per year for students in college. Think about that. If for a student in college for 4 years, that's $10,000 back into the pocket of that family. And oftentimes, that is the difference between whether they can attend college or not. We're going to fight to ensure that the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, those benefits to families with young children, working families with children, they have the tax benefits that they know that people in Washington, the Democrats, are on their side fighting for them. And they don't just look up here at Capitol Hill and say, well, the business as usual. Businesses are in charge. They're going to win the day. They're going to win out. Just know, all across this country, you've got the Democrats in Congress fighting for the middle class, fighting for opportunities, and I guarantee you, with President Obama's help, we're going to keep the momentum going in this economy. Thank you.
Let me now acknowledge another colleague from Michigan who's here with us as well, Dan Kildee.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm part of the freshman class. We're just about to not be freshmen anymore, and I got to tell you, we're looking forward to that. But we came in 2012 with a really strong mandate across the country. Democrats and Republicans that were elected in my class were sent here to get things done, to legislate, to do the work of the American people. And I got to tell you, it's been a frustrating 2 years because while on one hand we have seen continued growth, we all would acknowledge that economic growth is not strong enough to put all Americans back to work. So Congress needs to act to deal with some pretty important questions that would make sure that we have an economy that, while it does continue to grow, grows in a way that benefits all of us, that all Americans can benefit from. Something as simple as extending unemployment insurance, federal unemployment insurance. And, you know, there's not a lot of discussion about that now because nationally, obviously, the rate has come down. But in my home state of Michigan, it's still over 7%. And in some of the communities that I represent, significantly higher than that. So until we have an economy that puts everybody back to work, Congress really needs to make sure that it's providing a basic sort of safety net for those who are struggling to go from the old economy to the new economy. We have a Make It in America jobs agenda that really should be a bipartisan agenda that would do things like, for example, my own legislation that would strengthen the relationship between community colleges and employers so that people in my community can compete for the jobs of the new economy by getting the skills that are required to compete in that economy. Congress could act to do that, and it would make a difference. Raising the minimum wage would give working people a raise, put more money into the hands of those who really support the economy, the real job generators, the consumers of America. And then, obviously, dealing with immigration reform. For places like Flint, Michigan, Saginaw, Michigan, fixing our broken immigration system isn't just doing the right thing that's consistent with our values, but is in our economic interest by expanding programs like the EB-5 program that would allow for new investment to come to places that are starving for new investment. The reason that's not happening is that despite bipartisan support, the Republican leadership in Congress will not take up this legislation. Look, we could do this in the next 10 days. We could certainly do this in the first part of the next term with the new Congress. But there's no excuse, this Congress or the next, for the lack of Republican will to take up even bipartisan efforts that would make sure that this economy works for everybody. That's what my class was sent here to do. I think that's what all of us in the Democratic caucus would like to do. And I just hope that the Republican leadership will hear that message and allow us to do the work that the American people sent us here to do. Thanks.
So we want to thank our two colleagues, Kathy Castor from Florida and Dan Kildee from Michigan, for joining the Vice Chairman and me. With that, we will take any questions. Emma?
Congressman, do you think that Democrats are prepared to take or prepared to support legislation that House Republicans are proposing right now? The plan would fund all areas of the government, including the Department of Homeland Security, but that department would be sunset early next year with the rest of the agency's funding going until the end of the fiscal year.
Emma, we saw how last year when Republicans decided to play with the budget and demand concessions in other areas of government that had nothing to do with the budget in order to pass a budget, what happened? They shut down the government. 800,000 Americans couldn't go to work. $24 billion was lost to our economic recovery. And ultimately, they realized shutting the government down wasn't a really good proposal, and so we moved on. It sounds like the seeds of the same bad B movie that we saw last year are now being planted by Republicans, where they once again will tinker with the fiscal integrity of our government, and of course that means our economy, to try to extract concessions from the president on things that are unrelated to the budget. We hope that's not the case. We hope that that's not what this lame duck session is used for. And we hope that Republicans will stick to their commitments made a year ago when a bipartisan budget agreement was reached, which essentially said stop mucking up the process and let's just get a budget done for last year after the government shut down and for this year. We know the numbers that we're supposed to live by for the budget, reduce the deficit dramatically. We could go with that, but what we don't need is for Republicans to start playing this social agenda game in a fiscal document that keeps the economy running. No one needs to sacrifice the 200,000 jobs per month that we're seeing our economy generate. And so hopefully we'll be able to get out of town and celebrate the holidays because we will have done the right thing rather than sucker punch the middle class by playing these games on a social agenda. I don't know if any of my colleagues wish to respond as well.
I would just add that if the Republicans target the Department of Homeland Security for an agency shutdown, a partial shutdown, that's risky business at a time where we still face threats to our national security. And coming from a state that's tourism-based, our economy relies on a lot of the legal immigration, visas, and movement of people to come visit the Sunshine State. This would be very upsetting to a lot of our business community all along the beaches and across my state.
On tax extenders, what was the message from Jack Lew? Is the administration ready to accept the one-year deal that House Democrats are pushing? And I know your caucus seems to be a little bit split about it. Is it something that you can support?
Actually, there was, I think, consensus in the room on what the Secretary said with regard to the tax extenders, that it would have been not only folly and foolish to move forward with a bill that would have blown open the deficit by over $400 billion because it would have been a bill that had lots of tax loopholes for corporations and wealthy folks and not a cent of it being paid for. The Secretary made it very clear that the President was adamantly opposed to doing something like that when our recovery is still in hand. And so there was consensus, I think, in the room that the President was right to oppose that irresponsible deal and try to move forward in a way that has consensus and bipartisan common ground. And so I think we're going to hopefully end up with a bill that will have bipartisan common ground. But again, we've already seen Republicans are playing games with the budget. Now they may play games again, trying to give some special tax breaks to some of these corporations and wealthy individuals while they do nothing for the middle class. And so, as I said, we can get out of town and do some good stuff, keep the economy moving without sucker punching the middle class. I don't know if anyone else wishes to.
What's your thoughts in terms of how likely is it that we're going to be able to avoid a shutdown based on your reading of where we are now?
I think I have better odds in Vegas than. Look, you American people, as Mr. Kildee said, want us to get things done. Last year's budget agreement called for the outlines of this year's budget. It's like just connecting the dots. The dots were put there for us. All we got to do is connect them. We don't have to formulate the budget. It's there. All we have to do is connect the dots. Why some of our colleagues can't connect the dots makes no sense. And I think the American people essentially said, including in this election, well, you guys hurry up and connect the dots. And so if everyone here in Congress decides to work together and do what's right for all the American people, not just corporations, not just a wealthy few, but for everyone, we'll get the dots connected in the next week or week and a half.
But in terms of the immigration issue, in terms of the homeland security, that's a non-starter for you? Where are we on that?
Well, again, you're playing games with the budget. When you play with something that important, it could blow up in your face, as it did a year ago when Republicans shut down the government. We hope that our Republican colleagues aren't on a course to once again shut down the government. As I said, there's no reason to, because this year, unlike last year, we have the outlines of the budget for this year, and it's just a matter of connecting the dots. Let's see if anyone.
I just think it's pretty cynical for there to be serious discussion about using the federal budget and all that goes with a government shutdown, really risking the entire U.S. economy in order to make an ideological point about action taken by the president that is consistent with action taken by previous presidents, especially when it's fully within the authority of the leadership of the Republicans in Congress to bring legislation to the floor that addresses all the issues that they want to somehow take up as a messaging effort by potentially threatening the shutdown of the government over the president's executive action. They hold the cards. They're just not willing to play the cards that they have. We're legislators. Speaker Boehner, legislate. And he can fix the problem that so many in his caucus seem unwilling to try to fix.
I would just add that, and it kind of piggybacks on what Dana just said, is that we're lawmakers, not odds makers. And I think if you really want to ask that question, the people you should ask that question to are the Republicans, because they control all the cards. And not only do they control all the cards, they look at all the cards. It's not as though they're dealt face down. They're dealt face up. They know exactly what they want to do. When you look back a year ago, when they shut down the government, $24 billion was lost in our economy. 120,000 jobs were lost. Do they want to do that again? It's, going back to what Kathy and I talked about in terms of all the positive things that are happening now, and Javier had mentioned the continuous job growth, the lower cost of energy and production in the country. Oh, wait a second, things are getting too good. Maybe we have to do something to cog the wheels, to stop the cogs a little bit or slow them down a little bit. That's not what the American people are looking for. Maybe they misjudged the election. I don't think the American people were rewarding the Republicans for shutting down the government. I don't think anyone believes that. Not even John Boehner believes that it's a good idea to shut down the government. Let's hope that he'll be able to win through this and really prevent this from happening to the American people once again.
Thanks all very much.